All right, welcome in the Outsider Sports Football Podcast, Tuesday, September 26th. I'm Ryan Balliott, joined today by Ben Mandel and Corey Jason. Week 3 of the NFL all wrapped up. It had blowouts, it had upsets, it had everything in between, and we're going to talk about it. But first, real quick, a reminder, if you're a fan of the show, show your support. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the show. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, ring the notification bell to make sure you're alerted for when these episodes go live on Wednesdays. Go down in the comments section, start a conversation with the other fellow outsiders as we try and continue to grow this community. And, follow us on Twitter at OutsiderSports3. Get those notifications for when all of our content comes out. Blog posts up on our website, outsidersports.net. And of course, our baseball podcast led by Corey Jason here. Our hockey podcast just got started back up with Ben Mandel here. So all kinds of content. That the amazing sports equinox is right around the corner where all 4 of the major sports are happening on the same day. I can't wait for it. Content everywhere. So much sports to talk about. Like I said, week 3 had a lot going on. Miami dropped the most points.
Whoa. Relax. You're missing the first thing. What is the best part? The only part of this show that gets me to wake up every day. Where's my Colts Report Weekly?
Oh, yeah.
I sent you my betting slips. I made a lot of money on the Colts because the Colts plus 8.5, plus 7.5 money line against those Ravens. That was a rich man's bet. That was common sense.
Colt Report Weekly, of course.
The Colt Report.
They love
Tell
to
me about
play.
Richardson.
They love to play up to teams better than them and down to teams worse than them. And, they stole a win against Kansas City last year. They did it here in Baltimore by all accounts. They went in, beat the Ravens in overtime. We're going to talk about who really fueled that victory a little bit later. But yes, they did it with, we'll see. They did it without Anthony Richardson, who was in the concussion protocol. Hey, Minshew did the Orlovsky and they won. I believe it's the first recorded instance of that happening. So he just continues to break the mold. But yeah, no AR, no Ryan Kelly. Finally, we had some of our younger corners on the field. You could tell because we got picked apart the last couple of weeks. Nico Collins, Calvin Ridley, obviously. Zay Flowers didn't have a huge day. Mark Andrews on my fantasy team, I know he didn't have a huge day. But it was a good win. It was a good win for the Colts. The AR jersey's still on its way. Taking a little longer than I thought it would. But is that good enough for you, Corey? Can we continue?
Well, I picked up Anthony Richardson in one of my fantasy leagues because somebody was stupid enough to drop him. Is he still is he going to play next week? What do you think?
I would say yes. As of earlier, or I think it was yesterday on Monday, he was estimated to still be in the concussion protocol. So just stash him on your bench for now. He'll be back and he'll be awesome.
Lead me to the promised land.
Take us there. All right, let's get into some of these week 3 storylines. As I was saying, Miami drops the most points since like the 1960s. The Colts had that upset win in overtime. The Vikings and Chargers game went exactly how would you expect. The Chargers went for it on 4th down and deep in their own territory late in the 4th quarter. Didn't convert. Then the Vikings went vintage and blew the game anyway, even though they had it laid on their lap on a silver platter. The Cardinals finally pulled off their upset. I know you guys are excited to see the downfall of Dallas. But the only thing the NFL Instagram page can talk about is the fact that Taylor Swift was at the Chiefs game. Like, I saw more posts about that than anything else. So,
well, and you know why? Guess whose jersey sales spiked 400% after that game?
Josh Dobbs.
The Swifties were going in on Travis Kelce,
Swift.
But the I'll tell you right now, those jersey sales, they spiked. Travis Kelce, all the Taylor Swift fans are now Chief fans. That is why they did it, because the NFL's Instagram, if you are a fan of the NFL, you're not looking at the NFL's Instagram, you're watching NFL games. The NFL, they're trying to grow. That's what they're doing there. And bringing in a Taylor Swift is exactly how you grow the game, because her fan base is not primarily football fans.
Did you guys see some of those tweets that were trending where they're looking at Travis Kelce's astrology signs and his star map of his life and then comparing it to Taylor Swift to see if they're compatible?
I hate this.
I'm not even joking. That's legitimate things that were happening. You know, we're getting like thousands of tweets and retweets and like impressions online.
Well, how about Pat Mahomes after the game, right? Mahomes was like, "Oh, Travis knew the job. He knew what he needed to do in this one."
There were,
And hey,
yeah, there were
he
people
came
that saw
through.
pictures of her at the game and she was eating a chicken nugget and they were like, she eats chicken nuggets with ketchup and ranch. She's like a normal human. Wow. Just crazy.
Stupefied by the
Stadium sells
stupidest
chicken
things.
nuggets.
If Taylor Swift
I
wants
love
a
it. That's
chicken
the
nugget,
takeaway.
Taylor Swift gets a chicken nugget.
He goes for the nugget as opposed to the tender.
It was a
Yeah, I'm a
nugget.
tender guy.
Someone write that down. Anyway, so by the time this podcast is out, you guys are listening to it. I'll also have the football column up for this week. So I have a lot of my thoughts on this week's storylines in there. So I'm going to throw it right to you guys. Biggest takeaway, biggest storyline that left the impression on you guys coming out of week 3.
So for me, it's the Denver Broncos. I was trying to buy in. I wanted to believe that Sean Payton could turn this around. Say what you want about him as a person. Thought he was a good football coach. He did it all those years in New Orleans, and it wasn't a coincidence, that they made the playoffs as much as they did, and they had the success that they had. I thought that Russell Wilson was fixable. I didn't think he was terrible in week 2. I mean, he wasn't great. He wasn't what he's supposed to be. And I mean, hey, for Sean Payton and his team to allow 70 points, who the hell are you to say anything about the past regime when you allowed this team, the Miami Dolphins, I get it, they're fast, to put up 70 points on you?
They did it without
I'm
Joe.
sure the Dolphins had a little personal business as well with their defensive coordinator. I'm sure he wanted to stick it to the Broncos as well. But look, it's sickening that the Broncos are as bad as they are, and they allowed a team to put up that many points. You have to basically be not trying for a team to put 70 up on you.
I love the McDaniel Bronco connection too, where he was a ball boy for them, how they wouldn't even give him a head coaching interview when he ended up going to Miami. Just a lot of things fell into place, and he really should have kicked that field goal to get the all-time record.
Yeah, very classy by him to kneel the ball instead when they were up 70-20. But no, I mean, listen, we've talked about agendas on the show. This couldn't have happened to a worse individual with Sean Payton. That's as much as I'll go into that. But
Maybe the Bears with Justin Fields.
well, listen,
They got theirs.
yeah, they also
Yeah,
got theirs. That's the other thing you forget. They got blown out too. But again, it's because Taylor Swift was up in the boxes. That's the only thing we're going to take away from that game.
But I think my takeaway that I want to really kind of highlight are the Jets. And everybody had all these high expectations. They even thought going into this week that they were going to beat the Patriots. Sauce Gardner's still the best. Mac Jones isn't very good, but Mac Jones was good enough. 15-10 final score is pretty putrid. 15 is not a football number. But what really makes me want to safety. What really makes me want to highlight this though is not what happened on the field, but what was talked about after the game off the field by Joe Willie Namath, Broadway Joe, talking about how trash, how garbage Zach Wilson is, how the team needs to trade him and get him off the team. When I saw that, I thought I had got stumbled upon a parody account, but it was Joe Namath. Like, how do you have the only good quarterback to ever play for your team single you out and say you need to go? You're literally garbage. Just Joe Namath is widely considered one of the nicest guys in football. He's a sweetheart of an old man. A lot of people, talk really highly of him. For him to snap like that, there's a lot of issues going on in Jet world. So I really wanted to kind of focus on that because to me that was one of my biggest takeaways was how bad it is with the Jets.
Yeah,
look, with the Jets though too, I mean, you can't put this all on Zach Wilson. You can't. And you know what? Say what you will about the Patriots game, but the Dallas game, their defense was horrible. I mean, the defense did nothing to stop Dallas. Dallas showed that they can be stopped by Arizona. So, I mean, what what is this Jets defense, right? You said it yourself, Corey. Mac Jones isn't really that good. So the Patriots offense, they're really not that good. So shutting them down, that's not that impressive. I mean, they definitely could have performed much better on defense against Dallas. I agree. I think that bringing in Trevor Siemian at quarterback isn't necessarily a solution for the Rodgers injury. I think maybe trading for another quarterback on another team, maybe a move, or trying to pry one of these veterans out of retirement because Zach Wilson's not getting it done. You're wasting years in this window. And look, it's Trevor Siemian's not going to be a solution either.
I mean, those veterans, though, we can just ask Ryan. They're talking Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, and Philip Rivers.
Yeah, don't do
the
that.
last three quarterbacks. Well, but like, I mean, hey, they apparently can reach out to Brady. They can reach out to Ben Roethlisberger. Not that I would
saw
want
some
either of
delusional
those guys
people
playing.
sending out tweets and stuff saying, if Steve Cohen were to buy the Jets, they can try to coax Andrew Luck out of retirement, give him enough money.
Jim Irsay would be
Money can't fix
all over that.
Yeah, we'll take Brees Hall, we'll take Garrett Wilson, throw in a
How do
side
you
of
not
sauce.
start with sauce on that?
Well, he
The
said a side of sauce.
Yeah, side of sauce. You didn't let me get the full bit in.
All right.
We'll take them all. Did you guys see Captain Andrew Luck return?
Yes. That was amazing.
That just warmed my heart. It really did. But yeah, I mean, we saw the Zach Wilson story last year. We're seeing it again this year. It's the same. So that's why I know we were talking about on the pre-show about, because I know it's a popular thing in New York sports radio of, the Vikings are sitting at 0-3. They look like their season's just about over. Do they try and trade for Kirk Cousins?
Now,
this is the move. I mean, if you're gonna trade for a guy, you got to go get Kirk because he's the only good quarterback that's going to be available that can pick up an offense quick enough and actually help
how
you
much
win.
bad blood there is between the Jets front office and Kirk Cousins? Do
Who
we not remember how
cares?
Kirk Cousins leveraged the Jets into getting that mega deal with the Vikings?
I don't think they care. They just want to win now. Guess what? Kirk Cousins goes and resurrects the Jets season. All is forgiven.
I mean, I don't think it's realistic either way. Because there's no way the Vikings move off because the Vikings still think they can compete.
Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle, I think, is especially because they have a very winnable matchup against Carolina this coming week. But before we move on to
1-3.
Before we move on to week 4, let's talk about outsiders of the week. And my outsider of the week, it was the driving force behind the Colts' victory over the Ravens. No, it's not Gardner Minshew. No, it's not Zaire Franklin. It's the kicker. Kickers are people too, guys. Matt Gay, the first kicker ever, not Hot Rod. We have an actual kicker now. First kicker ever.
Hey, Hot Rod was a real kicker.
50-plus yard field goals made in the game, including that overtime winner. Matt Gay, we paid him a lot of money in the offseason to shore up the special team side of things, and he did just that for us. Matt Gay, remember his name. We have a kicker now. How about you guys? Outsider of the week.
Yeah. Well, I want to add for Matt Gay. I mean, look, I guess the Colts finally got tired of not having Adam Vinatieri, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, why not Matt Gay? But for me, I'm going to go a different route to a fullback who not only scored a touchdown, a kick return touchdown for Andrew Beck. One of the many strange things we didn't expect in Jacksonville on Sunday, I guess you could say. But he was able to pick up a ball on the ground right around his own 10, 15-yard line, I think it was. Weaved in and out of some guys, didn't show blazing speed, but had just enough put-away speed to run a kickback for a touchdown. Andrew Beck, one of the few times you'll see his name on the TV screen. And, I mean, hey, it was so unexpected that Fox didn't even have a graphic ready for him when he scored. So there you go, Andrew Beck. Kick return touchdown for a fullback. Who says the position's irrelevant?
Kind of reminds me of the Patriots offensive lineman years ago.
Yeah, Dan
that ended up getting the kickoff and running it back to like the 5. Just a big man rumbling. But for me, my outsider of the week, I almost feel weird calling him an outsider because he's firmly as a top 10 QB right now in the league. This season, only looking at this season, and that's Joshua Dobbs. Cardinals very easily could be 3-0. Don't tell me I'm wrong because I'm right. A couple things break their way. They are easily 3-0. That's not how I expected their season to be right now. I expected them to have gotten blown out in every game. I said before the season that I would have been shocked that they even won a game. They did. They won a pretty big game and one that made me very happy. But Dobbs, 17 to 21. It's a pretty good completion percentage. He threw for under 200 yards, but that's whatever. But it's his legs. His legs is what's really keeping him and the Cardinals alive. 55 rushing yards. He is doing a lot, and they can't stop him. We saw the Giants have issues with them when we played them. The Cowboys had no idea what to do. He's just elusive. He's not the fastest guy. He looks quick, but he's just elusive. And I'm really happy for him because maybe he'll keep the job when Kyler Murray comes back. He's doing a lot, and he might be better than Kyler. I'm not a big Kyler guy. I don't think he's very good. He should have stuck to baseball. But I think Josh Dobbs is in the early runnings for outsider of the year. I'm going to make that bold proclamation right now because nobody's been an outsider and taken the league by storm like him this year.
Yeah, that'll be something to watch. And after you saying that maybe he keeps the job when Murray comes back, what do you think of the Jets trading for Kyler Murray?
I think that would set the franchise back even further, and I wasn't even sure that was possible.
Which franchise?
Yes.
Is it bad? I can't tell which one you think.
There's a couple
I
players
think he was vague on purpose.
Yeah.
There's a couple players in the league I don't like. Kyler Murray is number one on that list. He's
Justin Fields is number 2.
I'm almost at the point where I pity Justin Fields because I don't dislike Justin Fields. I just don't think he's very good. I just dislike Kyler Murray. Like, there's a couple people in my life, athletes I just don't like. Buster Posey's one of them. I absolutely hate Buster Posey.
He's such a good guy.
I hate Gerald. Yeah, that's his name. His name is Gerald Buster. But before I get into a massive rant on how much I hate Buster Posey, Josh Dobbs has earned that job. How do you take it away from him if Kyler Murray comes back? We saw that last year with the Mike White, Zach Wilson stuff. And you see this every year where somebody gets hurt, somebody else comes in, does that job and does it well. How do you give it back? How could Brock Purdy have given the job back if Jimmy Garoppolo ever came back last year? Sometimes you just can't.
Yeah, stick with the hot hand, but I just quick on Fields because I know you want to talk Fields. John Pauline wants to get on here and trash Justin Fields, so we'll have that in the coming weeks.
The baseball pre-show has delved into Justin Fields hate.
I'm sure it has. I just want to mention, I think the coaching staff is not doing him any favors right now. I know I keep bringing it up, Ben and I, with the offensive-minded or otherwise philosophy and head coaches. Eberflus in Chicago, a defensive guy from Indianapolis. So it's definitely not, they have their own, something was going on with their defensive coordinator in the last week that he resigned. So Chicago has plenty of issues going on right now that we'll talk about in the coming weeks. But upcoming this week, week 4, the matchups we're looking forward to. I'm going to get things started with the game that's going to start us off. Thursday night, Detroit and Green Bay. This was the game that closed off the regular season last year. The Lions went into Lambeau Field, denied Aaron Rodgers and company a playoff berth in what ended up being his final season there in Green Bay. Some other players have left with Rodgers, but a lot of that roster is still the same. They remember it vividly, and these are kind of the top 2 teams. Obviously, we've trashed Chicago and Minnesota plenty on this show already. They are not in the mix of things right now, so this will give one of these teams a huge early leg up in the division race. Or it already looks like a 2-team race in that NFC North. I'm excited. I think kneecaps will be bitten.
Kneecaps will remain whole, Ryan. They will remain whole and untouched. Jordan Love has taken ownership of that whole division.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that this is going to be a really, really good game, and this is the next test, right? Kansas City was the first test of the season. This is the next test for Detroit. I think that, Jared Goff has been solid. I think the win last week in Atlanta was a big one. And, hey, they're going to be able to turn around and try and take it to Green Bay and establish that, hey, we're the new leaders of the division. I agree, Ryan. I think that's probably going to be the best game of the week. And Amazon is throwing a party right now. So excited that they are having good Thursday night football games. The matchup I'm going to highlight is the complete opposite. And I think perhaps maybe even the worst matchup of the week, but I am looking forward to it because we are going to have one of these 0-3 teams no longer be 0-3. The Denver Broncos are taking on the Chicago Bears, and these might even arguably be the two worst teams that we have seen in the league this year. I think, Chicago has been rough. I think this is supposed to be the get right game for both of these guys. We might even see a shootout. We might even see two scores in the single digits. I'm not looking forward to it if it's that, but I think we might see the shootout. We might see Russell Wilson and Justin Fields try to prove that they can air the ball out a little bit.
How funny would it be if Sean Payton went one and done in Denver?
After all that capital they traded.
After all of that, like, sometimes you got to move on when it's time to move on. How funny would it be, though, if he got the boot?
They signed him to a massive extension, too.
Both these teams need to just hit the big red reset button.
This is the third big red reset button the Bears have had in the last 5 years.
This should be the third big red reset button that Denver's had.
Yeah.
But they just they're doing the Colts move. Except they just overpaid a bad quarterback for a long time.
Yeah. The one person I think really tuning in to watch this game maybe is Caleb Williams, because he might end up wearing one of these uniforms next year.
Hey, he might be wanting to go to Denver.
Alternate reality could have been Colts country. Let's ride.
Don't say that ever again.
I mean, hey, both horses, they can ride.
That's enough. What's your matchup, Corey? Let's get back on track.
I'm going to go two teams that have never done anything wrong. The Browns and the Ravens. The Browns are legit. We talked about them earlier that they could have been a sneaky team that could win that division. And you know what? We're looking to be right early on, at least. The three major teams in that division are like 2-1. The Ravens and Browns are really good. The Ravens lost a heartbreaker to the Colts. The Ravens don't look to be as dominant as they once were thought to be. That defense isn't anything special. Lamar hasn't quite broken out. His running game hasn't been top tier like it has been before he got hurt. That injury from last year still might be taking its toll on him. I don't know. Maybe he got paid and, he's ready to retire. I don't know what Lamar's deal is. But I'm kind of hoping that Lamar can figure it out because he's such a fun player to watch when he plays well. And on the other side, Deshaun Watson looks terrible. But the Browns' defense is possibly top 5 in the league. They're legitimately good at everything on that defense. Myles Garrett is a monster. Just a monster rushing the passer. And I think that the Browns could very easily be able to contain Lamar and keep it close enough where their offense can choke out a win. It's going to be a really fun game to watch. It might really set the tone for who wins that division.
One quick note on that. You mentioned the three kind of top teams in the AFC North. Who's the third one in your eyes?
Yeah, I'm curious because I know that there are three teams at 2-1, but one of the teams who was a Super Bowl pick for a lot of people is not.
Hold on, give me 1 second to display this as crystal clear as I can. The Bengals are... I should not have chosen a green paper for this. The Bengals are... Right you can kind of see the off.
Nope, now everyone's gone.
Yep. The MetLife
the Bengals are written off. The Steelers have taken their place. The Bengals look putrid. Even when they won last night, Joe Burrow looked bad and hurt. It might be a punt year for them. Let T. Higgins walk. Draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Roll with that for the next 5 years.
That's who Ryan wants.
He's a Colt. I got to
The Colts will be too good to draft him, Ryan.
I know.
You're not allowed to have 2 Marvin Harrisons.
I can dream.
We barely
One
let
other
Pittsburgh have
note.
2 Joey Porters.
Lamar Jackson had over 100 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns against us. So I don't know where you're.
I have him in fantasy in my one league. He's not playing well this year. He's not dominant.
Not like that 2019 season, but I think he's doing just fine. Baltimore has a lot of other injuries. That's the yearly story, it seems, with them.
I was going to say Baltimore needs to just fire their like medical staff and training staff and figure something out. They're like the Mets of football with their injuries,
especially to the running backs in general.
It's like a specific position group that they're not training or utilizing correctly.
But J.K. Dobbins' career might legitimately be over because who's going to take a flyer on him now with 2 major Achilles injuries?
Yeah,
they'll take the minimum. Practice squad.
Yeah, it's a shame with J.K. Dobbins. Like, Nick Chubb,
such talented guy.
We hope just to see these guys on the field again in whatever capacity. But that's going to do.
They said apparently Chubb only tore his meniscus.
Ow.
That's what I heard.
How do we go from possibly
not meniscus, MCL.
How do we go from him possibly having to lose the leg to it was just a regular MCL?
Well, no, because one of the arteries ruptured.
Yeah.
But if an artery ruptures, that can be fixed easily. That's not a tendon.
It looked so bad, that injury. I'm just glad yesterday we didn't have a major injury like we had the first 3 Monday night games, pretty much.
Yeah, we got through it unscathed, maybe. We had Mike Williams, I know, and Trevon Diggs too, of course. Those guys out for the season as well. So it wasn't on the prime time on Monday night, but these season-ending injuries are still cropping up every week. But that's gonna do it for today's show. Join us next week when we talk about week 4. Enjoy the games, make your picks, place your bets, and thanks for listening to another episode of the Outsider Sports Football Podcast.